You may not realize it, but the pursuit of all spiritual traditions and or so-called spiritual traditions and work on self and whatever else you want to call it, the aim of all of that is to become a conscious dog. Now, I have a dog just like that. His daily interests are essentially, number one, food. He's always sniffing around for food. Number two, approval and disapproval. And number three, sex. But he's old, you see, so sex is not so much a thing for him. Normally, the order would be sex, food, and approval or disapproval. Now, that dog and most animals, most higher animals anyway, have pretty much the same emotions that we do. They can be happy, they can be unhappy, they can be jealous, they can be hateful, they can be angry. Yeah, pretty much all the things that colour a human life in terms of the emotions. The emotions really are just a barometer for our survival status. So, he can get a bit angry if another dog enters his territory, because that's a survival challenge, albeit maybe a little bit remote, but nonetheless that's what it is. So, having said that we're pretty much like that dog in terms of our desires, survival and procreation, and our emotions, anger, happiness, unhappiness, enthusiasm, and so on, then why would we want to become a conscious dog? Well, the thing is that we have a thing called a reflective consciousness, which poor old Rex there does not have. I've never seen my dog ponder on anything. It's always immediate reactions: approval, disapproval, food, sex, and that's pretty much it. He doesn't ponder on anything. So he's not really able to understand his own nature. Whereas we can do that. Not many people do it, not many people are interested in doing that. They're quite happy being Rex, pursuing survival, sex, and approval, disapproval, and all the things that go with that. And indulging in the emotions fairly freely. If they're angry, they're angry. If they're happy, and so on. But we can, quite uniquely it would seem, direct our attention. He cannot. If there's a piece of food that he's seen, then he goes after it, and if you try and take it off him, he's not going to be very happy. It's like there's no one in there really, no one at home. It's just a bunch of desires and emotions and reflexes and so on. But we can direct our attention to understand our desires and our emotions. The reason we might want to do that is because many of the emotions are not all that pleasant. Things like anger and hatred and jealousy and envy and so on are not particularly pleasant emotions to have to live with. So maybe if we came to understand those emotions and to see them, in other words, if we can put our attention on them when we're experiencing them, maybe we can moderate them a little bit and live more of a human life. Again, a fairly rare event. Most people are not interested in that. And then we can also look at our behavior, observe it, understand it. We can understand our desires. Well, the root desire is the desire to exist, as the Buddhists would say. So we can gain a lot of knowledge and understanding of our own nature in order to moderate those fairly unpleasant emotions, to understand our own nature in terms of our drives and desires. And because of that, life becomes a little bit more pleasant, because we're not so much indulging in envy or hatred or whatever. And not only does life become a little bit more pleasant, but we can live more skillfully. So this unique ability we have to direct the attention on our own volition is what distinguishes us from Rex there. Not many people exercise it, and it's difficult to exercise it. So when you are angry about something, it's the kind of minimum time that, or the minimum, how can I put it? It's the time you will least want to redirect your attention, because your attention's sucked into being angry at that moment in time. But with a bit of training, you can redirect your attention, and you can come to understand what's going on. I won't go into all of that, but these things are not difficult to understand. You can redirect your attention, understand what's going on, do some basic movement of the attention, and be relieved of that feeling of anger or envy or whatever it is. So we can live life more skillfully, and we can live a more pleasant life. It's worth doing. You never know what life is going to throw at you, and you never know when you're going to need a skill like that, but it's certainly a skill worth having. So the aim of all so-called spiritual work is to become a conscious dog.